Hi, my name is Carl Stanley and welcome along to this session. As I said, this session is about the method. So we're going to dive down into a little bit more detail and talk about a content meta model. So what do I mean by content meta model? Okay, so meta model, metadata. So who's here heard of data about data? That's what they call metadata. Okay, so what do I mean? I've got two scenarios here, or two illustrations. Imagine you take a snapshot of a picture, or you take a picture of a landscape. Okay, now around that landscape is certain attributes or data, right? Could be the light, the sunshine, the type of sunshine, what time of day it is. So there's some sort of light attribute with a value that's measured in a certain way. There might be over there is a boat, okay? Data about the actual scene that you've taken a picture of. Those things are objects or descriptions of what's in that picture. Similarly, in enterprise architecture speak, there is a data model about the actual snapshots that you're taking. And those snapshots that you're taking are called views. So there's a viewpoint of where you're looking from, and then there's a view. The viewpoint is meta information, and then the view is actually the artifact which you take a snapshot of. So that's the one illustration. I had another one that was coming to mind. If it comes back to me, I'll go back there. But we've got the idea. Metadata is data about data. Okay, that was that was it. So who's used Active Directory before? You've got a login. Okay. When does that login actually mean something? Well, it means something when it has your name. Before it had your name, it was just basically what they call a user object, and that user object has different attributes: hair and color, name, last name, password, start date, expiry date, all that data about you before you even become a user. So data about data. Again, similarly, enterprise architecture has a content meta model, a data model about the actual snapshots of your information. Now I'm going to draw that up. So we have to start thinking in layers. Enterprise architecture, business, data, application, technology. Okay, so let me draw up those. And this is the underlying meta model to all the different viewpoints that you can pull out about your enterprise. Blueprints. Okay, so let's do this. Business, data, application, and technology. Different layers of your enterprise architecture. Okay, so we start off with a business service. All right, that business service is serviced by or realized by a process. See how we're calling them things? We haven't actually named them yet. We haven't named what they are, but a process. Okay, that an application services that process. Application component. That application component might talk to some sort of data object. App component. Right, service. I talk to some infrastructure service that runs on some sort of node, which has associated to a piece of system software. It's running on a device. See what I mean? Notice across these major boundaries, there's only a few types of relationships that can go across. Now, I'm not going to go through an exhaustive list here, all of the different types of relationships that are available to do your enterprise architecture. But when I show you the tool, I'll show you where to find all the different types of relationships. But as long as you stick to the viewpoints, now what do I mean viewpoints? That's a rudimentary content meta model, and it's in a layered. It's called the layered viewpoint. External to this layer is a service. That service serves an application component. External to this layer is a service that services that process, and that services a customer. All right, so if you keep to the certain set of rules, this is actually called the layered viewpoint, but it's also the underlying content meta model. And then, okay, so like I said, we have system software. What if we had a network that turned into VLANs? Okay, devices. Now, what if I was to just carve up one portion of that, and that's all I'm looking at? So that's where I'm taking my snapshot. That is called the infrastructure. Infrastructure usage viewpoint in Archimate version 2.1. In Archimate 3, it's called the technology viewpoint. Okay, but you get the picture. That is a viewpoint. Now, back to our scenario. We have a general manager who's about to throw in a bunch of projects. All right, in theory, here's all your different projects. P1, P2, P3. Now that I have my as-is state carved up from different viewpoints, wouldn't it be good if I could just do, here's my dependency to the network, here's my dependency to that one, here's my dependency to that one. Therefore, we get a scope. Now what happens if one project, well, let's just keep the green pen. One project is homing in, 3 projects are homing in on the same business service. We have our hotspot. We have our dependency. We have our major dependency that we can put our hand on our heart to give back to our stakeholder and say, this is the impact that's going to hit you when you try and roll these projects. Now, I haven't put in all sorts of different details like the time it takes to run the project. Are they running in the same time slot? What skills are required to touch every different component? Okay, these are the things that we start to elaborate. But as long as we have a structured data model that's sitting underneath us, we go from unstructured info to structured info, which is knowledge now. It's all gained together. Now that's the juice. That's what we're trying to get to. We've got our blueprints, we've got our credibility, and we're able to answer those questions. And then we can give back insights or reasons why this project, this stakeholder concern needs to be addressed. Okay, and then you can pick wise courses of action to go around. And this is the strategic planning stuff that we're supposed to be doing way out the front, but it's great when we have an as is. So that's the method we're using for our scenario. So again, the general manager has a business unit. The business unit is asking a whole bunch of questions. I'm about to land, hand on my heart, are you going to be able to get that project in? Yes, no? Yes, because we've actually modeled. Now, yes, I've done this before. And so the outputs that you've got are outputs that you can use over and over again. Okay. And I've actually boiled it down into the analysis of those said relationships. Now, this is a diagram of things. If you go into TOGAF, there's lists of things, there's matrices of things. Okay. Now, once you've got it all there, then you can just pull out a matrix. Now, let me show you a little bit about a matrix, because I'm actually using that in detail in the other part of the course. So just let me give you that concept on a matrix of things. So we've got our method. We're also going to use an analysis tool, which is a matrix of things. So let's go matrix. Remember how we had different layers? So we had application layer and technology layer. And obviously, we've got many different, so app 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. Okay, tech 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, wouldn't it be nice if I said between those boundaries, application layer, we're touching these infrastructure services, then you would have your application to technology relationship. Then you could put together an application to technology matrix. Then anytime someone says, I'm using Oracle, I'm using Microsoft, I'm using SQL, I'm using whatever, I'm using these infrastructure services, I can say, oh, by the way, those are all the apps that are touching. Wouldn't it be great to be able to do that when you're doing estimation? Right? Impact analysis. All that knowledge becomes quite useful. So a matrix is basically, say that application touches that technology. Here's a realized relationship. Okay? We'll get to those relationships as we go through the meta model. Right? So that is a matrix of things. Now, I just want to make one more point. Notice we've got our layers, but then we also have layers inside those layers, right? So the way you model them is conceptually, logically, physically. Conceptually, logically, physically. Conceptually, logically, physically. What do I mean, conceptually, logically, physically? Conceptually, we're on Earth. It includes all sorts of things. Logically, there's a grouping. We're in Australia, we're in the US, we're in the UK, we're in India, we're in China, wherever we are. And then physically, we're at a location with an address. Okay? So we have to start thinking in those layers, conceptually, logically, physically, right? And I've put this course together like that. So we've had a science book report, aim, method, expected result, actual result. But conceptually, I'm explaining the course. Logically, I'm grouping the things together. And then physically, I'm going to show you how the models come together. So this is the juice. Okay, matrices of things, conceptually, logically, physically, business data application technology, a scenario, a method to get to a result for a stakeholder. Okay, your stakeholder, I have done this, and in 2 weeks, we're able to get to the point where we could pick a course of action for a general manager so that their business units has confidence in the execution of the projects and efficiencies. Now, once these viewpoints are caught, how likely is it for the email service, let's call it email, likely to change? Well, it's always going to run on a mailbox, and that mailbox might physically break down to Exchange server number 1 or whatever, running piece of system software called Exchange 2010 or 2008 or 2012 or whatever the latest version is. Once we have those building blocks, if you've done TOGAF, you know what I'm talking about. Once we've done those building blocks, we can reuse those over and over again. Yes, in consulting places, I'm doing that, making pictures and then helping structure data, which turns into information, which turns into knowledge and then wisdom. And then you can do your digital transformation from a business perspective. Okay, so we're building out this knowledge base. Very helpful, very useful. Now, we're going to go into a bit of a conclusion to this section. And then I've already put together some sit down, look at some slides, and then you'll have a reiteration of some of this information. You'll also have some resources that you can download. And then we'll get to the hands-on parts of the course a little bit later. Okay, so thanks for coming along this far. Hoping this is really helping you. I've worked on a lot of the, ironed out all the bugs, lighting, audio, that sort of thing. So I'm really hoping this is taking off for you, and then you can apply this in your offices, in your professional careers, as you will. So you'll notice that there's my mission statement that I have. Give practical, hands-on enterprise architecture insights to aspiring professionals. Hopefully, that's what's happening right now. So thank you very much for coming along, and we'll see you in the next section.